Life Check Yourself with Chris Gillis, mastering relationships and personal growth, self-talk, awareness, goal setting, and authentic dating advice.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Love Lowdown with everyone's two favorite relationship besties, Marni and Chris, who've been talking and about relationships since Blackberries. Just to put a little timestamp into how
2007?
Yes. Wow. Yes.
We're
2007.
almost in 20 years. Damn.
You know what? God damn it. And I miss just a little side. I miss the feel of the Blackberry better. I like texting you better that than this, but
My God. So
here nor there. Now here we are years later. Who would have thunk it, on computers and with all sorts of weird little gadgets and lights and crap around us, doing it from remote locations, and we're still besties, which is I'm so incredibly thankful for. For any of the male listeners, Marni is famous, very famous in the women's sphere. Guys, this is the guru of love. She has been there and done that. There's no question that you're going to throw at her or think that she doesn't understand. She gets it. Most likely, she's done it better than you, even if all the guys who think that they are done something interesting. And she lived the lives of 1,000 women. She is a extremely successful wife, professional, author, mother, you name it. She's just a badass. And so I'm so happy to have you here.
Chris. Thanks, Christopher. Who used to call you Christopher? Your friend?
Yeah, Lisa did. Yeah.
Lisa.
People are mad at me. Yeah, I am Christopher. So good to see you again, bud.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. It's been such a great month for me. November was a great month, and I just can't believe we're like going into a new year soon. So really doing some reflecting, doing my own annual planning process. I think I showed that process to you and Emily a few years ago.
I love that process, and I miss that. I wanted to tell everybody what it is, and because it was badass, and I got huge gains out of it. I need to do it again.
Yeah, so I'm doing it with a group of my clients. I've been doing it really for about 10 years, I think. It is a hybrid of a few mentors that I came across, Carrie Ann Rockmore, Jessica Fisk, and I really love it because it turned me on many, many years ago to this idea. Like if I look at all the different areas of my life and I broke it down into like 12 different areas, what would be my ideal situation? You know, like I think that we have these goals or we have these visions in our mind of what it could be, or sometimes we don't. And so it's kind of crazy. Like it allows us to go through this process every year and really look at what's worked this year, what didn't work, what are we celebrating, did we achieve what we hope to create, what are the gaps between where we are, and then getting more specific every year about what we want, because obviously that changes, and then coming up with a plan that we use throughout the year to execute on it. And Jeremy and I started that process the week before Thanksgiving. And we were both sort of like, wow, we kind of like manifested, created, designed a lot of what we thought were like long-term goals. And so it's time to kind of continue to think bigger and come up with some new ideas of what we want in the next 5 years and beyond. So very exciting, scary, all of that.
I just realized as you were explaining it, I have the folder that I wrote when we did it 3-4 years ago. And I did it. And on there, guys, this works. In there, I had my goal 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago in this notebook. It was to become a men's full-time dating coach. And it's so awesome. Yeah. And the way it really made a roadmap and helped me kind of decide my future versus letting other people decide it for me. And it's just fun to think about the possibilities in life and travel. We just, before we hopped on the podcast, talking about future travel plans that we're having, and just bigger goals versus just letting life happen, which sometimes I think I did both, professionally, relationship wise, and life wise in general. So powerful stuff.
Yeah. So it's super exciting.
That's funny. Yeah. And I still have that. It's literally like right here. I was like, oh shit, I can pull that out and show everybody. Of course, my writing's hard to read. As you know, I like to write tiny.
Yes, you do write like the beautiful mind guy.
Oh my gosh. So speaking, yes, it's the holidays, guys. I am not one of those red-eyed hamsters. Everybody's sick right now, or I've got the cold. They were passing it around here. And speaking of, the tying that in with finishing up this year, with what you said with your goal setting, are there any relationship trends or issues or advice or tips you give to people who are going through these holidays, not currently being in the place that where they want to go, so they can transform it and set themselves up for success in 2025?
Yeah, I love this question because I was actually talking to someone and I was like, it's so funny. Every year whoever they is, I suppose they is now TikTok, comes up with like a new way to describe a concept that I've been doing this for 15 years. Literally every year there's like a new way to do this. And so one of the things, like back a couple of years ago, it was called like the cuffing season. Now I think it's like the snuggling season. I can't even remember. But the bottom line is it's winter for most people on this part of the world. And there's this desire to want to, partner up, to be connected, to have that person to sit by the fire with and watch Netflix. But at the same time, most people who are single, actively single, looking for a partner are like, okay, another year went by and that didn't happen. And they can actually get caught in their head, beating themselves up, having more self-doubt, taking themselves further away from their vision rather than doing what I call in this goal setting process, this assess and adjust. And so I think that having a mindset of non-judgment and acceptance, and really look at your situation. I always teach my kids, data, not drama, look at the facts, don't make it into a big giant story where you're the victim of circumstance, and be like, okay, so if I were handling this and I was looking back at my business and I wrote down so my goal this year was to find a partner. What did I do towards that? How often did I do that? Was I consistent? What was my resilience practice? Because it's not an easy thing, right? You could do an evaluation of your social calendar and your social schedule and where you're hanging out. You could look at if you're dating online, are you consistent? Are your photos reflective of who you really are? Is your profile professional, outdated? Is it written from a place of what you don't want, or is it written from a place of what you want to create? And then look at it and be like, okay, cool. So what can I do in the future, AKA next year, right? That would be different. I know what worked and I know what didn't work. So now I've assessed it. What adjustments do I want to make? The thing is, information without action is entertainment. So if you're listening to 20 dating podcasts and reading self-help books and complaining to your friends that dating sucks, that's probably not going to point, your GPS is off. So I would say, stop the pity party, give yourself a big hug, big life, big challenges, and be professional about it and not dramatic, and really look at it and then make some new choices. One of those could be getting help, professional help. But it doesn't have to be, but treat it like you would anything else instead of some, big drama.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, said a lot of things right there that I love. Treat it like you would treat anything else. And what I've kind of had a big epiphany in this last month is oftentimes the quiet voice in my head. I don't treat myself the way I treat anybody else. I don't talk to myself the way I would talk to anybody else. I wouldn't allow others to talk to others to the way that I've been getting better at getting still and quiet and figuring out and listening to the tone, the subtext of some of the nasty ways that I will judge myself, and how incredibly, debilitating and depowering that is, versus the way I would talk to you or my friends or anybody, right? I try to, empower them and lift them up. And I love that you, one of the things you're talking about is and versus, and it's what I'm trying to do now. And I think what's helpful and what I share with my clients is, and you sound like you tell your kids, for example, when they're having a pity party is, it's fine to, feel it and whatever. Okay. Yeah, this sucks. It doesn't, especially for men, right? It doesn't help when we just push it down and pretend like everything's fine and then wake up and we're dead at 80 years old and alone and, never have the connections or values or family that we want. But to assess or appraise versus judge. And I've been there's so much power because judgment is a disappointment and expectation that generally, that hurts the other person. And man, Martin, I don't know about you, but nobody has the power to know where my sore insecurities and my spots are more than me. And when I allow that crappy self-talk, or I'm waking up or I'm trying to go to sleep and I can just really start to tune in to some of these dark sides, patterns and these voices, it's really, it's I don't know, it's shocking. And it's, I really trying to tune it up lately and listening to my holy moly, there's a lot of negative self-talk going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And so having that awareness, one of the things I was and this is a great thing people can do is, I ask people to create what I call a little judgment journal. You can do it on your phone or you can do whatever. And just for a week, jot down, the times that you're talking shit about yourself to yourself. And just notice it. And usually after like 3 days, people are like, holy shit. And they kind of want to start to make those adjustments. And so, if you're listening to this show, you're probably on a journey of some sort towards the fuller expression of who you are. And so, and we all do what Chris is talking about. I do it too. Right. And it's like, okay, how can I, and I was telling my clients last night, like it's the holidays, like our desires of what we want seem to amplify, and yet at the same time, as I said before, there's more demands on us for our time. There's expectations of people, family members, Instagram Christmas, whatever it is, right? And so I was telling them, like, this is the time where you double down on caring for yourself. I interviewed someone on the show and he said, if you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, then find 30 minutes to meditate. And I was, all right, if you don't have 5 minutes, then find 30 minutes. And I said that to my clients. I was like, if you guys are too busy, then that's a problem. So I gave them a 27-day little challenge with a cash prize at the end if they do it every day. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so if that's don't just complain about it, do something about it. That's my suggestion.
That's great. Tony Robbins once said, if you don't have 5 minutes, all the people are like, I can't, big high-powered people, I don't have 5 minutes to meditate. And, and my life is too busy. It's like, dude, you don't have a life. If you can't take 5 minutes to yourself at some point, then your priorities are probably need to be rearranged. And the truth is, and kind of back to what you mentioned earlier, I thought about, we're talking about data versus drama, data, whatever you want to call it. How ironically, we talked about social media and especially with dating and or even just Instagram or whatever. It's wild how it collects the data of knowing what crappy feelings that we're like, especially in the manosphere out here, the guys that I'm coaching, like, hey, hold up the phone and look, everyone agrees that all girls are trash, or there's nobody. It's time to, outsource and move to Colombia or, Thailand and bring a girl back, and look at all of these likes. And isn't it is crazy how well the algorithm collects that data to create that echo chamber of those dark side thoughts and chatters of scarcity, and it's never going to happenness, right? That we were chatting about, to make it seem like it's true. And one of the things, I don't know if you agree with me, but I firmly believe that whatever you believe to be true, bro, it'll be true. There's enough people in 100%. The world. You'll find someone who agrees that couches should be ate and not sat on. Humans are weird, and especially with the internet now, and our negativity can kind of snowball out of there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's it? Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what you think about, you bring about, and all that kind of stuff. So we all know that, but many people learn that or are aware of that. And I hear people all the time saying, like, intellectually, I know, but like, we need to have a felt sense of it in here. You have to rewire your neural pathways. You have to shift your identity. How you define yourself impacts what you do and how you do it. So if you define yourself as a piece of shit, that dating is hard, there's no good people out there. Yeah, you're right. You can argue for your limitations, or you can argue for a possibility. Which one do you want to do?
You said something earlier. Will you explain to everybody what awareness hell is and the price that it costs to be there? Awareness hell?
You mean like being aware of your self-limiting beliefs and aware of those kinds of things?
So talk about awareness hell, and where it describes the people who watch all the podcasts, listen to all the
awareness, like information. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. I mean, I think that's great. Like, learning is great. But when you have a bookshelf full of underlined books, and you vow to yourself, you go, oh my goodness, this is why I do that. Okay, next time, I'm not going to do that. But you have created an awareness, but you haven't shifted or changed your reaction. Yeah. Then what happens is you do the same thing again and again, and then you go find another piece of information that you think is going to be another it all makes sense, and you rinse and repeat. And so when I describe that to people, I'm explaining why what I call shelf help doesn't work.
Love it.
Right? And so you can have... And Chris Gillis literally has like 300 books on his Goodreads, which are like all self-help books. He's so good at it. But you do the work also. But you could have those 300 books and you could quote all the information. But if you aren't shifting physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally as well, then you can't help it. Like, without healing, I just think it's really hard to change that. And so when I'm talking to people about why they feel like nothing works or why they're unfixable, and they're like, oh, I've tried everything. I'm like, have you? Because sometimes you don't want to DIY your own plumbing in your house if you're not a plumber.
And the difference between I've tried everything versus I've read everything. Have you read everything, or have you tried everything?
Yeah.
I
think it's important to learn those things. And there's new data and new information. I think it's great, but so what? Now what?
Right. So what? Now what? I love it. All right. I'm going to do some fun here. I want to show you a video. I'm going to open this up, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
We're the right match. It's fate.
It's not fate. His light is on, that's all.
What light?
Men are like cabs. When they're available, their light goes on. They wake up one day and they decide they're ready to settle down, have babies, whatever, and they turn their light on. The next woman they pick up, boom, that's the one they'll marry. It's not fate. It's dumb luck.
Sorry, I refuse to believe that love is that random.
Please, it's all about timing. You gotta get them when their light's on.
Most men I meet are flashing yellows.
Or off duty. They can drive around for years picking up women and not be available.
Then they really shouldn't be allowed to get behind the wheel.
Most men don't stay lit long before they take the plunge versus most women who've been lit pretty much since birth.
I love that clip. I love that clip because I used to tell my clients, like, you need to put your cab light on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what are signs for guys out there to know when notice that a girl's cab light is on?
Well, so this is a great question because I teach my clients to be super direct. Like, you know, like on the second date, like, hey, I'm in a place where I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. What about you? You know, to make it really clear in their profile. You know, I coach my clients to really paint a picture of what life looks like together. Blended lives, you know, like on the weekends, we're not going to each other's kids' soccer games. We're, you know, traveling and you know, exploring hidden mountain getaways, you know, and talking about the future, whatever it is. Right. So I think like, if the woman isn't being direct, then the guys can say, I'm in a place in my life where I'm looking for da, 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 da. What about you? Don't guess. I mean, there's too much crap out there. I think that, and what I mean by that is that there's so many choices, so many apps, you know, like the great buffet of love, like a little bite here, a little bite there. Maybe there's something better. There's a better deal. There's a better chef. There's better whatever, you know, like tastes great, less filling, whatever your version of that is. And so I think that you have to be like laser sharp right now in like who you are, what you're looking for, and being open and soft and like guard down in those conversations because you are committed to your vision, but you're not attached to that person or this person being it. So you're just collecting data. Data is the theme. And I think that that's an important thing to, you know, and then the second thing would be, Chris, like, then read the signs that are happening like in between the dates, you know, like if she just never answers you or doesn't respond or is on her phone the whole time or is whatever, like read the signs. And that goes both ways. Like don't work harder than they are. Be direct, be kind, be respectful, let people rule themselves out. You don't need to.
All right, everybody, we are going to test out a new segment here called A Minute with Marni, A Minute in Heaven with Marni, maybe some say. I'm going to pick your brain on some popular questions that have the single world befuddled. And I want to hear your feminine, wise, sassy perspective on what is out there. Okay. All right. Are you ready? Buckle and be honest. All right.
I'm buckled in.
So what do you think about the Netflixes, we'll just say, or the internet's new suggestion that looks don't matter when it comes to attracting a partner?
I don't even know what that means. Like, I get that, like, it's not. I mean, so here's the thing. I think that there can be an over focus on looks, right? Like we've talked about the 6-pack, you know, 6 feet, 6-figure guy or whatever. But I was watching, oh God, I'm rolling my eyes myself. Love Island, Australia, with the kids over Thanksgiving. And there's all these girls and on the show. And I just paused it and I was like, I am so sorry that this is like the ideal of beauty that is like happening for you right now, because it's so fake. And it's crazy, right? Like these 20-year-olds are getting Botox and fake lips, and it just used to be fake boobs, which is fine, whatever. But now it's like a fake ass and a fake chin and fake hair. Their hair is so fake, it's like so obviously fake. And so I get like looks don't matter as like a overcorrection or a correction from like that's all that matters, like a 10. But there obviously has to be some attraction and some chemistry. I think that I always advise my clients, like, you want to have your 5 core non-negotiables, and that's really what you should be focusing on. Also, research shows that women find men more attractive after they get to know them. So when I'm coaching women to date online or even in real life, to like give a 5 a chance, on that horrible scale, because a 5 can become an 8 if he's like super funny or super sweet or super cute in the way that like he talks to the waiter or whatever, or his humor. And so, so I think that's really important. So I'd say yes and no.
Okay. And also I love that you pointed out that a guy can easily go from a 5 to an 8 by wearing a clean pair of sneakers or something that gives a girl an ick, right?
Yeah. I mean, the ick is like so subjective. I mean, like you're in a long-term relationship. Our partner gives us the ick like 10 times a week, at least, right? You're like, ew, like I can't even floss around my husband, or he's like, oh, it's disgusting. I'm like, okay, I'm literally just flossing.
You have to floss in the closet with the door closed and
well, thank goodness right now, like he can have his own bathroom area. So I can have mine, which has just been amazing. But yeah, no, before I'd literally be like, go away. I'm going to floss. But anyway, I think that one, that show that was on, Nobody Wants This or whatever it was. And she's like, oh, I think I got the ick. And then, you can't come back from the ick and all of that. And I just think that's bullshit. I think the thing is that our society right now is just like clickbait, like phrases and comments that people latch onto, and then they make it mean something that is evidence for them to like close down, pull away, like someone, whatever it is. Right. And so we have to really make sure that we, stay true to our humanity versus the cliche of the day.
Got it. Love it. All right. Next question. What do you say to somebody that went on a disaster date and goes, you know what? I'm done. I'm packing it all in. There's nothing for me here. And I'm offline from humans forever, from the opposite sex forever.
Like I said, argue for your limitations or argue for possibility. I could also say the truth is that every bad date gets you closer to the one that's the right guy. I mean, It's literally a numbers game, right? So why would you quit? Right? Why would you quit? It's funny. I wrote an essay about fantasy football, which I hope one day will get published. I'm going to send it out soon. But what I learned from that experience was that, there is no perfect roster. There is no perfect player. There is no perfect team, right? And because things happen, there's weather, there's injuries, there's, just their schedule, their whatever. And when I started it, I was like, oh, I think I can find the perfect roster and then I'll win every time and then I'll win. Right. And I was like, oh my God, this is a metaphor for life, right? Because you can't research or control the dating process so that it's perfect in a perfect upward spiral whereby every date gets better and better until you meet the one. That's bullshit. I'm sure when you heard me say that, you were like, ha, 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 that's impossible. In your brain, that's how you think it's supposed to go. So when it doesn't go that way, you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Those football players, San Francisco 49ers, they have to show up every single week. They can't just be like, you know what? Our whole team is injured and sick and we're not going to win. So I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
They don't. They go back, and you know what? I just saw an interview with Christian McCaffrey, who missed most of the season. He got re-injured again. He's out for the rest of the year. And he didn't say like, I'm out. Football wasn't meant for me. I got injured twice. I guess I'm going to quit. He's like, this wasn't my year. I'm going to train harder, train better, and get ready for next year. That's what people need to do, not pack it in.
I love that analogy because as a fellow fantasy football manager, but who's currently getting my ass kicked in 11th out of 12th places, probably going to lose some respect there. You're killing it. I'm not killing it. I'm sucking.
No, I'm out. I'm literally, my percent chance to win now is 0. I'm out. I'm done.
What's wild is that I tried to build my team the same way a lot of guys tried to build it, and a relationship, meaning that I was like, I did all the research, and I waited, and I put in the most, valuable players at each spot. And I think what's remarkable, especially about the NFL or even college football, is that it's not about the work just begins when you bring in or you recruit. I'm watching, big Oregon Duck fan, recruit these players. What happens is that championships, they're built over the relationships over time. And I think that's so true and apropos to actual relationships that we have, and that there's no such thing. We can't drop in your dream guy in life.
Right.
That's just the seed. It's time to water that garden and take care of it every single day. And like there's going to be a lot of days where your dream seed gives you the ick because you're flossing too much or whatever is going on here. But it's still a long-term process. And those are the families. Those are the partnerships that end up succeeding. They have something special. You never see a championship team where, it's all in disarray and poor management, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's just about showing up. And I love that we're talking about football, and sorry for you ladies who don't care, but I think even like if you take right now, like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like they're like 11-1 and they're not playing great. Right. But I literally think I am so inspired when I watch their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, because when you look at his face, he's never panicked. He's literally like, okay, I just got to go out and do this thing, right? Like, because he believes in himself. He believes in the bigger vision. And even if they don't if they don't win this game, like there's a bigger thing. And that's, I think that we can't make meaning of our losses. We can't make meaning of our hardships, because that guy that you went out on a date with that was really bad, maybe it was like, his version of like playing in a snowstorm when you're from San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. Or he had a really bad day at work, or maybe he's not over his ex, or maybe he felt intimidated by you and got nervous, or whatever it is. But like, he's just a human. Like, why are you letting that one rando human who your paths cross for a millisecond literally create your future? That's ridiculous. So don't do it. So that's my Marni Minute. That was really long, but I feel
that's
passionate.
All good. Speaking of, Patrick Mahomes, it's funny you say that. I was blown away. I saw him. He was talking about this another, they've been so incredibly lucky with some other win. They pulled out of their ass, and he seemed he just wasn't impressed. But what I took away was like, he didn't judge himself. He wasn't overly patting his back, and he wasn't going to beat himself up. And he didn't really give a shit because he believed in his team, the long-term trajectory of the team. And he was like, oh yeah, we won. That's cool. Now all right, on to the next game. We're going to be fine. But he had that bulletproof mentality. I was like, wow, that was so interesting. And then sure enough, he even said, yeah, it's okay. He gave this aura that he was okay if he lost. And because of it was okay if he lost or he got rejected in single guys terms, he knew that doesn't define him and his team as a whole. I think that was just remarkable. I'm like, what an interesting perspective versus holding tightly. I must win at all costs, or I am not good, bad, whatever. Right.
Yeah. You can't make meaning. You can't make a meaning of one moment in the season of your dating life. Right. It's really a long-term game. And I really do believe it is a numbers game, and gone out in 400 dates. Okay. It could be 427. That's your guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I love that when I coach someone and we work together, and maybe they even have someone they like at the end of the agreement, and I follow up with them. I just followed up with 2 ladies that I worked with last year just because I wanted to have them on the show and interview them. And one is still with the guy she met while we were working together. And they're still together and they're super happy and they're doing the holidays together. And the other woman was like, I broke up with that guy, but I'm dating someone new and he's cute and he's nerdy and I'm really excited. Right. So like that was like, she just kept doing it for a year, consistently doing what I taught her to do, right? Like showing up for the game, resting, having recovery, getting worked on, whatever you need to do so you could show up. And that's why I love football.
I like it. All right. I want to tie in that little point you made about nerdiness, because a lot of I'm a self-described nerd. I'm proud of it, but you may not know it immediately. But a lot of these guys are out there, single guys on there. What is advice? How can a man, from a woman's perspective, be attractive without changing who they are?
Well, I think you're not broken. So you want to be more of the good parts that are your true self and dim down the patterns and dark side messages and the inner critic and the girl when you were 22 who, said you were a dork or whatever it is, right? Like you want to let go and shed the parts of you that aren't truly you. They're the cover up parts, right? So how do you, so I don't think you want to change. I think you want to, I always say like, people are like, how do I up level? And I'm like, it's not an up level, it's an in level. How do you get more deeply into who you are and then express that out in the world? So like, I remember I had a client and she was super nerdy and adorable and amazing and smart. And she was a Disney adult, and she was like, I know I'm weird, but like, and I'm never going to meet a guy. Like, I'll never meet a guy who, and she was like, I don't even want to put that in my profile. And I was like, it's a neon sign in Times Square. Like,
we're seeing
paint the picture of you guys, like going on your 3 times a year trip to Disney World, whatever it is. Right. Anyway. But she owned it and she met her guy.
Yeah.
And they were together for 10 years. He unfortunately passed away, but like they had these amazing 10 years. And I keep reminding her now she's going back out it. I'm like, be more of who you are. The thing is, and Brene Brown says this, that, we admire people who are vulnerable, like who tell the truth that they're not perfect, that show their foibles, like look on Instagram, the person who's like, I'm really sad and depressed, like all of a sudden they have 8 million followers. Right. But like we admire them, but we don't want to do that ourselves. It's right. So that quality that we admire in other people, like that they're just getting their freak on, being a nerd, being dorky, like go for it. You don't need to exaggerate it, but just be who you are and remove the shame and remove the defenses and the patterns, and try that. See what happens.
There's a song that bugs the shit out of me. You probably heard it about matching my freak, and I need a guy to match my freak. And that the song, it is about, your freak is your little, quirks, things that you are used to be maybe embarrassed about, but just to lean right into it because it feels so good to authentically be your weird little freaky, dorky, nerdy self, right?
Yeah. So do it. We're at the end. We have like 60 seconds left. I'm so sad.
I love you. What's the last take is, is it true that nerds are the new hot boys for the women that you're coaching? Do girls like nerds now? Is it time for guys to rearrange how we think, gals think of us as nerds?
I think that's just a label. I mean, like yesterday's nerd is tomorrow's, I don't know what, like bougie guy. I don't know. I think that there is truly a pot for every lid or a lid for every pot. Mm-hmm. I believe that, that there really, truly is a person out there right now, literally listening to this show or doing something else, who would be so happy if they met you, fellow human who is listening. They are looking literally for you. So whether you're nerdy or not, there is a person who wants you to own your greatness and show up and be kind and be in the top 1% of the dating pool and prove to them that there are great women and great men out there, and just do the thing.
Well, Marni, thank you very much. And I love you. You are the lid to my friendship pot. And I'm so grateful to have
for sure
all these years. And you have a kick-ass day. And thank you so much for giving your time today.
I love it. Ladies, remember, you can follow Chris on Instagram. It's Consultant Chris. He's dropping lots of great content. You can find me on Marni Battista _. You can also check out my new website, marnibattista.com, for new tools, blogs, tricks, tips, techniques. And we'll see you next time. But in the meantime, don't forget, it's your responsibility to life check yourself. Bye, guys.
Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Listen, if you're feeling stuck, I want you to know you're not alone, and you don't have to settle for it. I've created a free quiz to help you pinpoint what's draining your energy and exactly how you can fix it. So head over to decodeyourdestinyquiz.com and take the 60-second quiz right now. That's decodeyourdestinyquiz.com. And if you're ready to dive deeper, you can book a free no-obligation consultation at marnibattista.com/private coaching. That's Marni, Marni, Battista, Battis, as in Sam, TA.com/private coaching, all one word. Let's take the first step to creating a life you love on your terms. I'm Marni, and I'll see you next time.